Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take a stack of your sources and pull out the nuggets of knowledge to make you well-informed, fast. Today we're taking a deep dive into a truly raw and intense look at what happens inside someone's mind when they're confined. We have one powerful source for this, an excerpt from a text detailing the first-person experience of a man in prison.
Exactly. And what we're aiming to understand today is the profound psychological journey this individual undergoes. How he grapples with the harsh realities of incarceration, how his perception of time, freedom, even himself fundamentally shifts. And the surprising, sometimes unsettling ways the human mind adapts to these extreme circumstances. You'll hear specific, vivid details directly from his experience. It's a unique window, really, into the inner world of a prisoner that, well, you just can't get any other way.
Let's dive right in then. The narrator's account, it starts with a surprising psychological state, doesn't it?
Yeah.
This reluctance to even admit he was truly imprisoned.
Yeah, that's right.
He describes himself as not really in prison at first, just sort of waiting for something to happen.
Yeah, it's kind of denial.
Exactly. And he says this denial, it only shattered after Marie's visit, which was her first and last. It was really after getting her letter telling him she couldn't come back that it hit him.
Right. That's when he felt, quote, at home in his cell and that my life was coming to a standstill there.
So what does that initial state, that psychological limbo, tell us about the mind's immediate reaction?
Well, it's a classic coping mechanism, isn't it? The mind resists this complete overhaul of its reality. Initially, he was placed in a shared room, several other prisoners, most of them Arabs, he says.
Okay.
And there's this striking detail from that early period. He was asked why he was there. He just stated, flat out, he'd killed an Arab.
Yeah.
And the laughter from the others just stopped immediately. Silence.
Wow. That sets a tone.
It really does. And the living conditions were, well, basic. He was shown how to fix a mat for sleep. He mentions feeling bugs crawling over my face at night. Then a few days later, they move him. Solitary cell, wooden boards suspended from the wall for a bed, a bucket for a toilet, a tin wash basin. But despite all that starkness, there was a small window. He could still see the sea. A little connection, maybe.
That lingering connection.
Yeah.
It makes Marie's visit, his only visit, seem even more jarring. He described the visiting room itself as huge, bright. A very large room, brightened by a huge bay window.
Right, but it was divided.
Yeah. Two large grates with this big space in between, like 8 to 10 meters, so everyone had to shout.
Mm-hmm.
He talks about the sensory overload, feeling a dizziness from all the voices echoing off the walls, the harsh light. It sounds just disorienting.
Absolutely. Designed to be, perhaps. And within that noise, what really stands out is the contrast in how people behave. Most people were shouting, yeah. But he observed the Arab prisoners and their families. They squatted down facing each other, and somehow they managed to talk in very low voices.
Huh. Amidst all that shouting.
Exactly. Their murmuring formed this kind of bass accompaniment to the chaos. And then there was this other extreme, the only oasis of silence. A small young man with delicate hands, and his mother, a little thin-lipped old woman. They just stared at each other intently, no words.
That's incredibly powerful, just staring. What does that silent connection amidst all that chaos signify?
It suggests bonds that maybe transcend words, especially under that kind of duress.
The bits of conversation he does relay are also telling. Marie asks if he's all right. She insists he had to have hope, shouts, you'll get out and we'll get married.
Hope against hope, maybe.
But internally, his response is just flat. He didn't really know what else I had to hope for. And as she leaves, Marie throws him a kiss, but he notices her sad, forced smile.
Yeah.
So that letter she sent later, saying she couldn't return. That was the real catalyst, right? Shattering his denial.
That was the definitive turning point, yes. He recounts this initial psychological struggle where his thoughts were still those of a free man.
Like what?
Like suddenly wanting to be on a beach, feeling the waves, the water, only to be immediately crushed by the feeling of being closed in by the walls of my cell.
That clash sounds painful.
Intense, definitely. But he notes it only lasted a few months. It's a striking insight, isn't it? The mind fights it at first, but then it starts to give way, preparing for something else.
A deeper, maybe more unsettling transformation.
Exactly.
And this brings us to a crucial turning point.
Yeah.
The narrator's journey from that shock to, well, adaptation. It's almost like his mother's old saying, after a while you could get used to anything, started becoming his reality. A really stark reality.
Yes, and a key observation here is how his understanding of punishment itself changes. He talks to the head guard, asks about why basic comforts, like women, are denied.
And the guards answer.
Very direct. Freedom, that's why. They've taken away your freedom. And this was a revelation for the narrator. He admits, I had never thought about that.
So it reframed everything for him.
It did. It made it clear punishment wasn't just about, taking away stuff. It was about the loss of liberty itself, fundamentally.
There's that very specific example he gives, the cigarettes, that really drove it home for him. They took them away along with his belt, shoelaces, ties, standard procedure, I guess.
Right. But the impact was huge for him.
He describes the first few days as really rough, maybe the hardest part. He'd literally suck on chips of wood from his bed planks, felt nauseated all day.
It's a visceral description of withdrawal, physical and maybe psychological too.
But then he has this later realization about losing the sting of that punishment. Does that make sense?
It absolutely does, and that's precisely the chilling part here. He realizes later that this deprivation, the cigarette thing, it was part of the punishment. But the crucial detail is, by then he had gotten used to not smoking, and it wasn't a punishment anymore.
So he adapted so well that the punishment lost its meaning.
Exactly. It demonstrates this profound, almost unsettling capacity for human adaptation. The mind's survival instinct can actually erase the suffering, which makes you question the whole point, doesn't it?
It really does. So with that adaptation setting in, the main challenge becomes what? Just passing the time.
Killing time, as he puts it, yeah. And he developed this primary coping mechanism, a memory exercise. He'd mentally circle the room in his imagination.
How detailed did he get?
Incredibly detailed. He'd recall every piece of furniture, and on every piece of furniture, every object, and of every object, all the details. And then of the details themselves, a flake, a crack, or a chipped edge, the color and the texture.
Wow, that's meticulous. An incredible mental feat.
It really is. It raises questions about the mind's power to create its own world, a whole universe inside a cell. He says how powerful it became. After a few weeks, I could spend hours just enumerating the things that were in my room.
Hours just listing things in his memory.
And this leads him to this truly profound insight, he says. A man who had lived only one day could easily live for 100 years in prison. He would have enough memories to keep him from being bored.
Let that sink in. Lived only one day. Live for 100 years in prison. That completely redefines time and experience.
It really does. What does that kind of internal richness suggest about our resilience? Maybe the limits are further than we think.
It suggests an almost boundless internal world. And as if that wasn't enough for killing time, he finds this story, this bizarre Czechoslovakian story on a scrap of newspaper, yellowed, almost transparent.
Ah, yes, the newspaper story. It's quite a tale.
It's dark. This man comes back home, wealthy, after like 25 years. Wants to surprise his mother and sister who run a little hotel. They don't recognize him. He takes a room, flashes his money. And during the night, his own mother and sister murder him with a hammer, rob him, dump the body in the river.
Horrific.
Then the next morning, his wife shows up looking for him, reveals who he was.
And the mother hangs herself, the sister throws herself down a well. Grim.
What's truly striking, though, is the narrator's reaction to this story.
Yeah, what did he make of it?
He says, on the one hand, it wasn't very likely. On the other, it was perfectly natural.
Natural, okay.
And then, this is the really chilling conclusion. He thought the traveler pretty much deserved what he got, and that you should never play games.
Wait, he thought the traveler deserved it, deserved to be murdered by his family.
That's what he says. You should never play games.
Wow. That's a shocking level of cynicism, or detachment, maybe. What does that tell us about how he's changed?
It points to a profound hardening, doesn't it?
Yeah.
A detachment from conventional morality, perhaps. And all this mental activity, the sheer passage of empty days, it fundamentally altered how he perceived time itself.
How so?
He explains that days became both long and short at the same time. Long to live through, maybe, but so drawn out they just flowed together. They lost their names.
Like time itself dissolved.
Yeah, he comes to believe it was just one and the same unending day.
And this leads to that powerful moment of self-reflection near the end, doesn't it? Where he looks at his reflection in his tin plate, sees his own serious face, tries to smile but can't.
Right. And then at this nameless hour, probably near dusk,
He hears something.
he distinctly heard the sound of my own voice and realizes all that time I had been talking to myself.
Chilling. The isolation made audible.
And it connects back for him to that ominous thing the nurse said at his mother's funeral.
What was that again?
No way out. and no one can imagine what nights in prison are like.
Uh, it's a full circle back to that sense of inescapable confinement, both physical and mental.
So let's try and bring this together, this deep dive into one prisoner's experience. It's such a stark look at the human mind, both its resilience and its fragility under pressure. The real takeaway here maybe isn't just that the mind is resilient, it's how it's resilient. It seems to paradoxically thrive on deprivation by turning inward, creating this whole universe from internal straps.
Yeah, it absolutely challenges our usual ideas about freedom. If the mind can become so boundless, even when the body is locked away,
Mm,
what does freedom even mean?
exactly.
And this account, it really makes us wonder, doesn't it? How much of our sense of self, how we see time, even our coping mechanisms,
Mm,
how much is just shaped by our environment? What's left when everything familiar is stripped away? It makes you consider, what unexpected capacities for adaptation might be lying dormant inside all of us, just waiting for, well, hopefully not circumstances that extreme, but it makes you think.